And now on Open Ears, Pauline Oliveros. Pauline Oliveros was a maverick in the field of contemporary classical music, particularly experimental and electronic music. She explored unconventional techniques and approaches to classical instruments, expanding their sonic possibilities. She's widely known for developing the concept of deep listening. Pauline Oliveros was born in Houston, Texas on May 30th, 1932. As a child, she was captivated by the sounds around her mother's piano playing, bird songs, and the sound effects from radio shows like Buck Rogers and The Shadow.
Buck Rogers in the 25th century!
At 9 years old, she chose the accordion as her main instrument, but also played the violin and horn in school. She also began experimenting with early electronics and recording technology in high school, and made recordings with a wire recorder, the lo-fi ancestor of the tape machine. In 1949, she attended the University of Houston as a music major. 3 years later, seeking greater independence and a vibrant art scene, she moved to San Francisco. In 1953, she got a reel-to-reel tape machine and began to use it to create new pieces of music. She enrolled in San Francisco State College, completing her composition degree in 1957. In search of a compositional mentor, Oliveros found one in Robert Erickson, a prominent composer and the music director of KPFA-FM, who introduced Bay Area listeners to the latest European avant-garde music. In 1961, Oliveros worked with musicians and composers like Terry Riley and Ramon Sender on a series of concerts called Sonics at the San Francisco Conservatory. The composers created new sounds with everyday objects, often enhancing their acoustical properties with microphones and different kinds of reverb. They also used tape recorders to manipulate the music's time, speed, and pitch. These experiments would lead to the founding of the San Francisco Tape Music Center in the summer of 1962. While at SFTMC, Oliveros premiered her milestone work, Bye Bye Butterfly, an improvisation on Puccini's Madame Butterfly. And Terry Riley premiered In C, a seminal minimalist music work where Oliveros performed on accordion alongside musicians like Steve Reich. Amid the 60s counterculture in San Francisco, Oliveros premiered her work called A Theater Piece at the Trips Festival, which more than 6,000 people attended. In the late 1960s, Oliveros accepted a teaching position at the University of California, San Diego. On May 10, 1970, during the height of the Vietnam War protests, a student at UCSD sat in the plaza, poured kerosene on himself, and burned himself to death. Oliveros was deeply affected by this event. She recalled, "I began to retreat. I didn't want to play concerts. I began to turn inward." She started singing and playing long, extended drones on her accordion, spending nearly a year on a single note. This private music making was a transformational moment in her life. These experiments in self-care evolved into a small collection of text-based scores called Sonic Meditations. In the 70s, she wrote music essays and codified her philosophy as an activist and a feminist. One of her most notorious articles was for the New York Times, titled, "And Don't Call Them Lady Composers." In the mid-80s, Oliveros began to develop EIS, the Expanded Instrument System, utilizing early digital electronic music technology. In 1985, Oliveros co-founded the Deep Listening Institute, which promotes her deep listening concept through performance practice and technological achievements. Now, deep listening is both a philosophy and a practice that encourages attentive listening and heightened awareness of sound and the environment. This concept has influenced many composers, performers, and musicologists, expanding the understanding of how music is experienced and perceived. In 1988, Oliveros and two colleagues played and recorded their improvisational sessions in an empty 2 million-gallon water tank located at Fort Worden in Washington. The album was released a few months later and titled Deep Listening. Throughout the years, Oliveros taught workshops on deep listening and advocated for gender equality and inclusivity in the arts. One of her last projects was working on the adaptive use musical instrument, a computer program that lets physically impaired individuals participate in musical improvisation. In 2014, the Deep Listening Institute became the Center for Deep Listening at Rensselaer Polytechnic in Troy, New York, and its work continues today. On November 24, 2016, Pauline Oliveros died at her home in Kingston, New York. She was 84. Her contributions and innovative approach have significantly impacted many composers and performers, and her legacy inspires and challenges all of us to listen more deeply.